paused.
Okay,
Well, it's
good.
recorded now.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I would be
So,
happy to listen to the meeting afterwards if you guys do make decisions or have decisions that need to be made. Um, I'll help with that if you want to.
okay. Well, it's being recorded as of now. So we've done the intro and
I will put a
kind of in the
plug
middle.
in. I would have put a plug that Tuesday evenings were really great for me for meetings. So if that works for other people, that would be great.
Well, yes, and we only did it this time because we didn't want to wait another week.
Got it.
We needed
Got it.
we needed to get going.
Yeah.
Right.
We a bunch of us met last week, and it wasn't very fully attended. So we can't answer the questions we have unless we have a full group. So, and we're still not really at a full group, not from the number of people who said they were interested. So we'll
Do
see.
you, do you want to have do you want to see if we can get together at, maybe that's the most important thing is to find a time when everyone can get together and really, I don't know if that's possible, but maybe that's the biggest challenge is finding a time when you've got enough people who can
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think that's fine, but yeah,
money.
I have a
I
hard
bring it up to
time.
I bring it
Yeah,
up to everyone I talk to. I
yeah.
talk about it to everyone and I say, who would like to give $100,000 to this project? Um, so
There you go.
far, I've met with lots of people who probably have it, but just, right now they're all getting old and wondering if they're going to be able to afford their
Sure.
retirement or their assisted living spaces. So,
So I'm going to move on with the meeting at this point. And what basically happened, and Maddie and Jim, you were there, so you can, um, you know, chime in. But at our last meeting, we kind of said there were only four of us there. Corolla, who is ill tonight and couldn't be here, and we realized that we're at a junction point where Bobby and Joe are not going to hold that building for us. In fact, they're not holding the building. They're actively seeking people to purchase it or lease it or whatever. And so far, I think we've been lucky. And I also think they are really interested in our mission. They've been really, in some respects, amused by it, but then also like think, oh wow, that's kind of cool. There was a time when the town, remember, went through and did a whole, they went out and looked at it, and then they said it wasn't okay, for them. And so they waited through that, and we did too. But at this point, it's going to be spring, and, buildings like this move at some point. At some point, it'll move. So the group that met last week really wanted to give one more push to get more people interested in the whole idea, the whole concept, which is why we kind of blitzed Front Porch Forum like a lot of times. So sorry about that. But we were trying to get as many people as we could because there are big questions that have to be answered at this point. And I don't know. I'm going to share my screen. And these are the big ones, but you know, number one, is there enough interest in the project to have it go? How do we gather capital for purchase and or rent of the building? Can we outfit it properly for multiple uses? Should we incorporate as a 501c3 and when would we do that? And are there five members of our group that would agree to become the founding board members, which is required for a 501c3 application? And then what else should we be thinking about? So I'm just going to throw those big questions out. And if people have thoughts, um, chime in, just add your thoughts to the conversation. Um, what we realized last week was we didn't have enough people. Even if we wanted to put together a board, there were only four of us at the meeting. So we need more live bodies who are interested in being part of this. And having just myself put together a 501c3 as an well, it's 802 Arts House and it's a new art organization in the state. Those people take on kind of the critical mission, those five people, Doesn't mean you don't have other people to help, but you have to kind of commit to that.
And in
The
order
five,
to do a 501c3, we definitely need the name of the
right,
organization. We need 5 members, and it costs about $450 to do the Vermont
incorporation.
Secretary of State and the federal requirements. And the forms themselves are fairly simple.
So there's a couple ways to look at it. I'll just, and then I'll be quiet, I promise. There's the idea of, do we purchase the building outright, and how would we ever fund that? That's number one. And I think right now the purchase price is $795, by the way. Um,
Right.
and we haven't made any like pitch or anything. We haven't said, oh, but I'll give you 775 or whatever. We haven't done any of that. We've just been, playing nice in the sandbox, so to speak. And then the other piece is it could be rented, but if it's leased is what he wants. He wants a long-term lease. So he'd want like a 10-year lease. And I talked with him about a lease to own situation, and he was for it. His dad was like, I don't know what that is. And so these are, they own it and they don't have it with a realtor. And they even seem to be interested or willing to think about owner financing and how that might work. So again, there are possibilities in that way. And then I'm going to be quiet. And if folks have things they want to add into the conversation or wonder about or ask or whatever, go for it.
I mentioned the fact that we definitely needed a name, and the 4 of us that got together last time basically boiled down a name that we can use. And Ellen, do you remember?
I
I
do.
didn't.
It's right in the notes. So it's, and I'll highlight it here. So if you're looking at my screen, you can see it. And I need to explain it probably, but the building itself was built by, I think it's John McGregor. McGregor had a tendency through his life as a pharmacist to name his buildings like a certain president we have right now. And so he named this building McGregor's. And in the front of it, people might notice that there's a granite slab that says McGregor's. And so, me being a former teacher, I thought of McGregor's Garden. Oops, can you guys still hear me? Um, and Peter Rabbit and all of that. And so that's where we kind of went with it. McGregor's Garden, a community for the arts. And my thought was we could keep the McGregors up top and then put garden, somehow across the bottom of it, and then do a real sign out front. But it would be a way to use that name, if you will. So that's where that came from.
Right. Thanks, Ellen.
Yep. Other folks, thoughts? What do you think? I mean, you don't have to say I'm going to jump in and save you all, but like, what do you think? Do you think it's possible? Do you think it's a good idea? I mean, we have some new folks here, so it'd be great to hear your thoughts.
And everybody is muted.
Just jump in if you have anything.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yep, Addison.
Yes, Addison Canals. I live over by the ferry with my husband.
Okay.
Um, I'm in the car. Forgive me. I'm on my way home from work. I actually love the idea. I'm a 35-year-old girl trying to teach myself how to sew.
Oh,
And I feel like there's just not a great community for that. And I'm like, leaning into YouTube as much as I can and some of the nurses that I work with as much as I can. But um, I saw this and I was like, I'm in. I don't know how I can help or what I can do, but I'm here for it. Um, I know that's not that helpful. I also work with someone who is equally interested, but she couldn't get out of work when I could. So
okay.
I know there's some buy-in, but it's just hard to obviously get into the meetings. But happy to try and fundraise or put the word out or do whatever.
Okay. Thanks, Addison.
Thank you.
Welcome. Yeah.
Thanks.
Anybody else?
It's challenging to think beyond the sort of financial
I
pieces
know,
of it.
I know.
That's a big nut. I'm glad to hear that they might consider lease to own, or the rental situation
Yeah,
makes no sense to me at that. I I don't know enough about real estate, but in terms of real values, what they want versus what's market value, um,
right,
without some kind of, it's the arts, and like you need a benefactor, right? Like without
right.
some kind of seed, and this particular timing, and
I
co
know,
the nonprofit needs are just
right.
through the roof, right? So I don't I love it conceptually, and I love the idea of an artistic community and a place for folks to go. And I think the awareness of the value of creativity and the importance of creativity in one's, making meaning in one's life, I think is really emerging, and
Yeah.
particularly I think around ceramics. So I love that there's um, but that, I mean, there's the purchase price, and then do you have any sense of what the annual operational costs
Well, the
would?
business plan is linked into the documents I sent you.
Okay.
And again, it's me trying to figure out what it might look like. So that's why I had asked other people to kind of jump in and, say, are you kidding? This isn't going to work. I researched like the generator space in Burlington. So I took the studio space rental prices from them. Their spaces were actually smaller, but I used their prices with a slightly bigger space. And I forget how many. Let me just go over here. You're still seeing my screen, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, well, there you go. I forget. Hang on, let me go up here. I think it's all in here. 10 to 12 studio spaces for working artists at $450 for an 8 by 10 a month. So that's a stream, right? That brings you in a certain amount of money. The pottery studio would be more around class times, and I put in quarterly classes in much the same way BCA does. They do semester classes.
Right.
And then the maker space, as I said, would kind of grow over time because I think you would start small and then bring in the sewing machines or bring in the whatever you need to actually do the deeds people want to do. And then the last would be a gallery retail space, which would offer what I put in because that was my thing from my past life with Grandel Artworks to do a 60% commission to the McGregor's Garden members, you know what I mean? And then any non-members that wanted to have their art shown would be at a 50-50, which is kind of the regular rate right now,
Mm.
wherever you go. I also put into um, the business plan the idea that there would be an annual fee, there would be a membership fee, and from that you would get some things. You know what I mean? You would get the maker space or you would get whatever it was, but you you couldn't anyway, I have to think that's the part I need to think about because I'm not sure that's correct. But I think if you have an annual fee, then your maker space fee is smaller. Your pottery space fee is a little small. You know what I mean? Like something comes off of that.
Yeah.
But the people in the gallery would also pay that annual fee. So anyway, by the time I got through with it, it was looking like we could make a lot of money. So I don't know if that's really true or not. I'm just going to scroll. Sorry about that. But here it was. I put everything out there. And as a nonprofit, we would have members. So they would have voting rights, that kind of thing. Annual fees, studio space, all of that was $100. Let me see. Sorry, I haven't looked at this in a while. Oh, maybe I don't have it. I do have it somewhere. But anyway, it came up that we covered costs. Let's put it that way. Again, we still need to lease and or buy and outfit the property. Like if it's going to be a pottery studio, there's some needs there, as far as what would have to be taken into consideration. Yeah, okay. Here you go. Here's my numbers saying how much money we'll make. 100,700 annually profit. Haha. This is where everybody laughs. Okay. um, anyway, trying to figure it out because I know you need multiple income streams. There's no question.
Right. And Ellen, did you say how much they would charge for monthly rent?
Yes,
7,000.
it's over 7,000 plus utilities.
Okay.
And they will only accept a long-term lease. Now, that said, the last people that were in there broke their lease. So I don't know what that meant. They probably didn't get their deposit back or whatnot, but they were there 3 or 4 years, but not 10.
Okay.
I know it's depressing, isn't it?
Well, it's just a lot of different things to think about,
Yeah,
the money, the setting it up, the equipment, the who's going to be there when, all that kind of stuff.
yeah.
The parking seems good, though, my memory is.
There's 27 parking
Okay,
spaces.
great. Yeah, so that's good.
Yeah,
Um, I'm just wondering if there's a way, I mean, it sounds like you've generated a lot of community interest.
yeah.
And I don't know if they would be willing to let us have kind of an open house there just to show
Oh,
community members and, educate them as to what we're trying to do.
right,
If
right.
maybe people could see it and then have, it's a hard thing until we know that this is what we're doing to say, we're raising money because obviously we don't want to raise
Right,
money if
right.
we're not 100% committed. But, I'm just wondering if people could see it and feel it, they might
Yeah,
generate more energy towards it,
yeah.
commitment.
The one thing, and Jim, you can jump in here, or Maddie, because you were there. I'm gonna stop the share so I can see you guys.
Yeah.
That I kind of put out there at the last meeting was we need to, what is it called? Cut bait. We need to make a decision because it's been going on for quite a little while right now. And I think everybody we've talked to in the past, and I'll ask all of you right now, agreed that it should be like a 501c3, that it should be a charitable organization that's doing good for the community and good for the community with the arts. So, I mean, there's a mission there, right? We could create that mission. To do a 501c3 is not actually all that difficult if you're starting new. It's harder if you want to change something into one, but it's actually quite easy doing it new. But again, you have to name it, you have to have those board members, and then you become an entity. And I feel like this is my answer to the question. I feel like we need to do that before we can ask. I don't know, Kim, you just said it the other way. Like before we can ask people to support us, I feel like we have to be a thing.
Oh, I
And
think we do.
maybe I'm wrong about that, but that's
Yeah.
where I'm stuck. It's like, is there enough interest that people would come forward to lead it?
Yes. And could we get it up and running, but not actually own the building yet? You know what I mean? Just start the entity. So now we have that.
Right.
So that there is a place if we could get some interest in fundraising.
Yep. Well, and that's what I'm thinking is you have to have the corporation
Before.
first,
Yep.
and then, you do your initial whatever, get enough money for the first month or whatever, and then we begin a lease agreement, and then we work like crazy, to do it.
Yeah. And
No matter what, there's work involved here.
oh yeah.
I'm not hiding any of that. There's things that need to happen.
Yeah, and my gut is, if we could figure out a way to do the lease to own, that would be
Yeah, me too.
the
Yeah.
yeah.
That's where I kind of settled out was that, and just for everybody's interest, just to put the price in perspective, that building is 795,000. Put that in there for 5,600 square feet, pretty much intact. Roof is good, septic, all of those things, parking, all of that. And right down the road, 2 or 3 houses over from Blue Paddle is Victoria's Cafe.
Mhm.
That's on the market right now for 650,000.
Yeah.
It is not 5,600 square feet. It is
No.
a teeny tiny. There are grants around. Thanks, April. The Vermont Arts Council has grants, and they will start up a new round for this kind of grant, but it's only like 30,000. That's one of them. I mean, I'm sure there's others, but
Mhm.
there are.
And again, you have to be a
You have to be somebody.
501c3.
Yeah.
Yep.
Any grants will ask for that. They'll be looking for charitable,
Right.
entities kind of thing. But Jim and I went to the Vermont Arts Council meeting that they had at the Worthen Library maybe a month ago, just to listen to what the grants were and whatnot. And we definitely would qualify for one, if not two. I don't think you could do both of them. So I think it's one or the other. And each one of those was about $30,000. Again, it would help with rent if we did it that way.
It would definitely help with rent or
Yeah.
equipment, any of that kind of stuff.
Well, it depends on the restrictions of the grant,
Yes.
whether it would actually help with rent or not.
Yep.
Well, it would offset even if it wasn't rent. If you did it for materials to build out the infrastructure, so to speak, then you could put other money towards rent. You know what I mean? It would help
Yes.
balance things. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So I guess I'm going to call the question because we can't solve everything tonight. Are people interested in having another conversation? What do you think? What do you think should be our next step? Or should we not have a next step? I'm okay either way. So
Are people willing to sign up to be on the board? President, vice treasurer, secretary, and a fourth or a fifth rather.
you need 4 officers and then one other.
Right.
I know absolutely nothing about being on a board of any sort, but I would be willing.
You would be great, Maddie. I don't know you very well, but I'll just say that. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to help in any way I can, and I'm committed to being a part of this community
Okay.
and would love to see it grow. And if that's what it takes, then I will figure it out.
Okay. Okay. Thanks,
Thank
Maddie.
you, Maddie.
Yeah, happy to show up.
And more than likely, I'm going to be willing. I'm now president of 2 501c3s, so I guess I'm looking for a collection, right? I don't want to be president, but I'd be willing to be on the board. So that would be me. So that's 2. Yeah. So, and that's not fair to put you all on the spot. You just barely met any of us and have just barely heard anything. But I'm wondering if I have that email list. In the last survey, I did not ask I asked if people would be willing to be a founding member. And a lot of people, the results of that survey are in your, I'm not going to go to it, but if you look, there's on the meeting notes where the agenda is, the survey results are there and you can, hop in there and look at it. But a lot of people said they would be willing to be founding members, or they wanted to sign up for space, or they wanted to like actively be part of it. but I never asked if they would be willing to be a board member. Do you think I should ask that question before I kind of give up on everything? Um,
I think that's a great question because honestly, I didn't understand what a founding member meant. I didn't understand that that just meant would I sign up, for membership.
well, and I left it vague because
Oh,
I was hoping people say, yeah, I'll be a board member, whatever, but that didn't
right.
happen.
And I'm just wondering if, and I don't know who else has expressed interest, but if there would be a way to ask that question and if people were willing to just have a meeting of willing people.
People.
And
Okay.
then,
Okay.
maybe there'll be
Yep.
10 people that say yes, and then we end up at least developing our board.
Okay. In the, not to belabor any of this, but in the art group that we started up, it happened that it was kind of grassroots, you know what I mean? Like we were all talking, and then finally somebody said, well, what are we going to do? And then we said, well, we need 5 people, and 5 people emerged, and then we started, and then things got really good. We have 185 members now, I mean, it's really a good organization, I think.
Yeah.
Might be the president of it, but that's okay. But 802 Arts House, put it, check out the website. Oh, what was that last chat? I gotta find it. Hey.
It was for me. I was just wondering, this is Addison again, sorry.
Yep.
Would it be, it seems like it would be quite difficult, but would it be possible to share a board member position with someone?
Well, I think
Um,
with board, yeah, I think there's all sorts of ways to do things like that. I mean, some of it is as a board member, how much you sign up for. Like I can't make you do everything. You kind of determine how much you can commit. But yeah, I mean, I think you could have a I don't know if you could have a co-treasurer, but you could have a co-secretary or whatever. I think that could work as long as you guys, talk to each other.
that makes sense. Thank you.
Yep. Yep. So this is what I'm hearing right at the moment. There are still people here who have interest. Maddie and I have said we would potentially be on the board. So that's good. And then the thought was, in my conversation with Kim, to do another survey to the folks that signed on through the surveys. And I've got a list of, I want to say 50 people, and write to them and say, okay, we're at the point where we've got to, do this thing. Would you be, and give a little information, and then would you be willing to serve on the board and see what happens? And then convene a meeting of those people. Does that sound like what we talked about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what I would do, of course, is let everybody in the group know that these people said they were willing to, work. Like I'll communicate that. And yeah, well, you'll know, I mean, whoever it is will know, or isn't, will know what the next step is after that. Are folks good with that?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Works for me.
Okay. We're not really official. I'm not using Robert's rules, so just be aware that'll
Good.
come later. But that to me seems doable.
Yeah.
And then the only meeting request I would have then is with those people who respond.
Yeah.
Okay. And then communicate to others. Okay. I would ask you if you have some people who like the arts and really have deep pockets, pass names on, or let me know, or ask them. Um, and I would say if there's other people that you think might be interested in that email or more conversation, just send it on to me and I'll add
Okay.
it to the list.
Okay.
Okay, final thoughts?
It's exciting. I mean, it's really a wonderful thing. I can see it happening, and it's just making it happen, you know?
Yeah, I think it would be great. And think about, well, I shouldn't say any of this because I've gone, I kind of get dreamy. But in the future plan of that part of the village is going to be a park back there. There will be musical events if the White Meeting House gets finished. There's a lot of things that could happen. It's already a place where kids, when they're going to and from high school, get dropped off.
Yeah.
So, having classes or art things happening in the afternoon would be a really sellable thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a very good location.
It's a great location. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, if I don't hear anything else, I'm gonna close out the meeting and I'll try to put some notes in there, and there is a recording. If you should like to listen to it, let me know and I will send it to you. But otherwise, I'm going to just hold on to it. Oh, who's that? Bye. Okay, you guys, I'm going to close the meeting down. Is
All
that
right.
all right?
Thank you
Okay.
so much.
Thanks. Yeah,
All right,
thank you for
bye-bye.
coming, everybody.
Yeah.
Take care.